All right, so now we're going to get a little bit more technical, a little bit more nuts and bolts. Pardon me while I drink my product placement. All right. In my original program, it was called CPI. It was stood for Conversational Persuasion and Influence. We've since changed. We've kept the acronym but changed the name to Critical Path of Influence. And the way CPI, or Critical Path of Influence, is designed, it's what we call a cross-contextual influence system. It teaches you how to influence people both globally, like in a room like this, through any form of communication, and get progressively more targeted down to one individual. So if you were to look at the diagram of how we teach CPI, it would look something like this. The outer ring, first of all, at the center of the ring always is going to be criteria and values. Okay? If you get nothing else out of tonight but understanding the importance of a person's criteria and values and how to elicit them, you've already gotten far more persuasion power than you can begin to imagine. Okay, I've given you nuggets, but I've disguised them in some cases. When you ask for a person's criteria and values, you automatically deepen rapport and connection. Okay? But at the center of this big target idea is, at the end of the day, everything we do is targeted towards a person's criteria and values. They're emotional hot buttons. They're emotional reasons for doing anything and how they know they're getting it. Okay? When I talk about criteria and values, I often talk about relationships where two people in a relationship have the shared value of respect. Okay? Would it be true to say that most of us want to be respected? Here's the problem. We all share the label of respect, but how we know we're getting it can be radically different. For instance, you have a man and a woman. Man here says that, I know you respect me when you tell me the truth, regardless of how you think it might hurt my feelings. You just tell me the way it is because you know I need to know it. That's how I know you respect me. You know I'm man enough to take it. Whereas his spouse or her spouse may say, I know you respect me when you take my feelings into consideration before you tell me things and you word things in ways that won't hurt my feelings. What do you think's going to happen? And both of them do what? Feel disrespected. Why? Classic rules mismatch. The value's there, they share the label. But one's eating apples, the other one's eating oranges. Understand? This is why you have to know what the labels are, and even more importantly, or as importantly, how do they know they're getting it? Okay? You can't just spit somebody's words at them and think that's enough. Many times it is. Many times it is. But if you start going off the ranch and giving people what they want in the way that you think they're supposed to have it, now you run into that you're not giving me what I want conundrum again. Does that make sense? So, very important. The first thing you need to do, though, before you can even begin to get this crap, being a technical term, shit actually is the technical term, secret hypnotic influence technique. I told you I'd work that in. First one is state control. You got to know how to go into whatever state you need to be in to create the feelings in the person you want to create. We started by teaching you how to change your physiology. How by going into a physical state, a physical configuration of breathing and posture, we can change our psycho-emotional state, which will directly and indirectly change how another person's state operates. Okay? If you want to look up the science behind that, you can look up mirror neurons, proprioception, and you go to heartmath.org. You'll find all the science you need to understand how this works, plus that TED Talk I told you about. Power postures. All of that goes here. All you got to do is change how you stand and how you breathe, and you become somebody else. Okay? Once you have control of your state, the next thing you want to do is you want to get rapport. Okay? Control your state, get rapport. Then you want to use your language. Specifically language patterns. And that's where we're at right now. You're going to use all of this to manage the states of the person you're seeking to influence. Utilizing your ability to control your state, your ability to get rapport, your ability to target their criteria and values, you're going to move them into the states that are conducive for them deciding to do what you want them to do. Okay? If you had to go into any persuasion process, business meeting, sales presentation, project, board meeting, classroom setting, you can follow this process. Control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage their state, target their criteria and values. It's very simple. It's universal. It will go anywhere, from the classroom to the boardroom to the bedroom. Okay? If you're lazy, control your state, get rapport, target their criteria and values, done. Okay? Now, we're going to cover language in two ways. I'm going to give you some discrete patterns that you can play with, some discrete linguistic structures. We will cover them far more in depth and far more comprehensively in the 2-day workshop, January 24th and 25th. I would love to see all of you there because I'm going to just unload on you guys. Okay, so if you can get in there, please do. I charge a lot of money for this stuff I'm going to give for almost nothing. It's really powerful stuff, not good stuff. But anyway, that being said, state control, rapport, language patterns. How many people here, I'm going to ask a really weird question. How many people here buy shampoo with argan oil in it, or hair conditioner with argan oil or anything? How many people here use shampoo?
How many people shower?
Now, again, it sounds weird, but I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment. I'm going to teach you some language patterns, and I want you to go home and look at the things you buy, the beauty products that you buy, and read the descriptions, and see how many of the language patterns jump out at you.
Mine will say chemical-free.
Perfect.
The one chemical, the laurel sulfate-free.
No gluten.
No gluten.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Do you know what words like no gluten and laurel and sulfate free are? Do you know what they are? They're adverbs and adjectives. They are descriptors. There's a specific language pattern known as the adverb-adjective presupposition that, when it's used effectively, lubricates the imagination. It causes and forces a person's internal representations, their internal pictures, to be exactly what the person speaking or writing in that pattern wants it to be, and forces the person's own neurology to fill in all the details. But it has to be done structurally correct. Okay? When you go, how many people here have ever bought a car and still have the brochure? Go read your brochure. These patterns will jump out at you left and right. Okay? So I'm going to give you very specific language. I can't go into all of them because most of us want to, we got maybe 5 minutes. Right?
You told them that?
Huh?
You told them that?
Yeah. I didn't say 11. They just tell me 10. I think 10 is enough. But if you haven't signed up for the training, please do. I'm going to go for it. There's so you've got the critical path of influence, which, by the way, if all you remembered was that, and you just said to yourself, okay, first thing I got to do is get my state right. Okay, now I got to connect. Now I have to talk to a person in their own language and use their criteria and values. Whatever skill sets you already have, if you just followed that formula, you'd be more successful. without having to know all these NLP techniques or whatever. That's what NLP is missing, is a way to make things applicable and simple. It's not that it doesn't work, it's just there's too much damn information. They don't tell you what's important and what's not. Okay?
Just what you just said, one more, going a little backwards. And what about people they're so powerful, they have such an aura, they light up the room, they own the room, they start talking, maybe they have a reputation, and everybody wants to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not influencing me. They're influencing me, but I'm trying to be like them. They don't have to worry about them being my avatar.
Mm-hmm. So you steal their energy. You steal their influence. In a nice way. What do I mean by that? When you're doing, this is off on a sidebar, so again, we would teach this in our killer influence programs or our covert influence programs. But there's people who are rapport leaders. The only person you need to get rapport with is the group leader. If you connect with the group leader and get rapport with the group leader, you have the same, you are given the same status many times as the rapport leader. And therefore, if the rapport leader approves of you, the rest of the group will follow you. If you can get the rapport leader to follow, the group will follow. So you don't have to get every single person in the group. You get the person they're already following to follow you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I can tell you some really funny stories when I was in acupuncture school about that. But we wouldn't get into our language patterns. So I will tease you with that yet again. Now, so the first pattern I talked to you about is called the adverb-adjective presupposition. Okay? The way you use this is you put the descriptor before the thing it describes. Okay? Romance novels are written this way. All good writing is written this way. It's laced with description. It's laced with this structure. All bad writing is written this way. Descriptors behind the thing they describe. I'm going to give you the wrong example first so you can experience bad language. Or actually, it's not bad, it's just painful to listen to. And then I'm going to give you some positive examples, and I want you to experience the difference in the qualities of listening. Okay? The dog that was orange with one leg rolled painfully on the ground. Now, that was a very odd, cognitively dissonant type of a sentence, right? I use nonsensical examples to force your brain to pay attention to language differently. When I said dog, how many people saw a picture in their head of a dog? How many had one that was orange?
Well,
After I said it. Exactly. You see, when you hear the word dog, your brain starts to do a search. In NLP, we call that a transderivational search. It starts sorting through every association, every memory, every connection to the word dog. It fires all of them simultaneously. It spits the one representation up that it thinks is most relevant to the communication. It fires all of them. Okay? And then it starts to try and guess where you're going to go next. When I said that the dog that was orange, all of a sudden, the picture wasn't orange. So you had to stop, back your picture up, turn it orange, and keep going. And then you got the next descriptor, which was after the thing it described, which had one leg. When I said dog, how many had a four-legged dog or a one-legged dog? Right? So it's like all of a sudden, whoa, right? Again, I'm using poorly, very, very weird, very odd language to force you to pay attention to what your brain is actually doing. All bad language, and when I say bad, I mean language that's hard to listen to, language that creates disconnection, a desire to flee, is written that way. The descriptors, orange, one-legged, painfully, are behind the object that they're describing. Contrast that with this. The black-robed, staff-carrying magician majestically walked down the hall. Even if I do it slow, the black-robed, staff-carrying magician majestically walked down the hall. How easily did your mind create that movie?
Still thinking about a one-legged dog.
You would. How pleasurable, how good did it feel to listen to that description? Do you feel almost like this lulling kind of a...
You were waiting.
Yeah, you were sucked in, you were absorbed in the movie. All good language, all good literature, poetry, is written with that structure. The descriptors come before the things they describe. Words that fall into this category, and there are many, but the ones that you will use most often, easily, naturally, automatically, unlimited, logically, I love logically, intuitively. Naturally, as you begin to logically understand how the structure of this amazing language pattern can dramatically lower resistance to your words, to my words, and begin to create powerful internal representations inside your mind in a way that's pleasurable, that's fun to listen to, that just causes you to become completely absorbed in what I'm saying, you'll easily begin to understand how just knowing a few of these words can give you unlimited options that allow you to automatically create language that sucks people in, gets people excited, and just has them completely captivated by everything you say. And you'll intuitively recognize that I'm already doing it to you. Come out of trance. Gotcha, didn't I? Notice that even though you knew I was doing it, you still couldn't resist it. You got sucked in anyway. Congratulations. That's global influence. Anybody who can hear your words or read your letters is under your influence. The magic is in the structure. Okay? Now here's the coolest part. You guys all got the message, right? Can you remember a fucking word I said?
Sometimes intuitive.
That's right. After the first sentence, like, huh? Oh, fuck it. Right? One of the byproducts of utilizing trance language properly is spontaneous amnesia. Okay? You get the message, but you lose the verbiage. Back when I was playing with this, back in my Darth Snyder days, we were doing these incredible connection patterns, and we had these scripts that we would run. The problem with utilizing NLP-based scripts is that once you run out of script, you don't have anything else to say. So I ran out of script. But I realized, well, there you got amnesia, so I'll just say it again. So I said the exact same script over again. It worked great the second time, too. And I ran out of things to say again. So I was like, I'll just do it again. 2 days later, she winds up on my doorstep. She left her husband. And that was the whole beginning of a whole roller coaster ride from that moment on. My point is, don't do that shit. Okay? I have tested this stuff in ways you don't even want to begin to imagine. You don't need to be evil.
Different class.
I have a special meetup for that. No. Here's the best part. You can have all of these tools, all of these skills at your disposal, and you can be the good Jedi. You can move through the world making everyone around you feel absolutely amazing and get every single thing you want, just by helping them get what they want. You don't gotta be evil, you don't gotta take advantage of people, you don't gotta lie. You just gotta know what they want, and if what you have is a match, and if the person in front of you is worth changing who you are to be with. Okay? One of the key tenets of NLP is this concept called behavioral flexibility. Being willing to change who you are and how you do things to match the person you're seeking to communicate with. That's where the rubber hits the road. Okay? If we know what our criteria and values are, we know what's important to us and how we're getting it, we already know who needs to stay in our life and who needs to leave. And that's true whether it's a family relationship, it's true whether it's a business relationship, or a romantic one. If the people on your team don't match your values and your rules, they're going to hurt your business. Everything at the end of the day comes down to criteria and values.
You're working this out with your reptilian brain, right?
If you can work in conjunction, you'll stimulate the reptilian brain no matter what. There's always going to be some reptile involvement. Okay? But again, remember, we need to communicate from the paleocortex and the limbic system up, not the neocortex down. The stronger the body feelings and the emotional feelings you generate, the flimsier your logic can be, the flimsier your data can be, and it won't matter. That's where the danger comes in. Because yes, you can use this to take advantage of people. Do you need to? No. There's absolutely no need to do that. You can get I love Zig. Zig said it best. You can get everything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. It's kind of an Elvis Zig Ziglar hybrid, but I thought it was kind of cool. So that's the adverb-adjective presupposition. Go home tonight, read your shampoo bottle. Notice where the silky, elegant, all natural words come. I guarantee you they're going to be before the thing it's describing. Okay? I'm telling you the tactic now. Go back, rewrite all of your marketing materials, and you will be amazed.
Does this work in Spain where they put the adjectives there?
Yes. Yes. Here's the thing though. They actually do this in Spanish, but only in one context. Poetry. So if you want to move through the world, something like a poet. Be filled with the rich Corinthian. Okay? That's one of 7. Okay? The other thing that we're going to give you, and this is a way to begin to write your sales copy. Okay, again, you guys want me to go into this, or you want me to just turn you loose?
Let's go into it.
How many people want to leave? I guess I'm a better hypnotist than I thought. Okay. All right. So, these are some examples, easily, naturally, automatically, unlimited, logically, intuitively. Many, many more, but they're places that you can play. Remember to put the descriptors before the things they describe, and your anything you write or speak will become exponentially more interesting. Okay? The other thing I'm going to teach you is what we call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. This brings us to a concept which dovetails directly with the avatar process I taught you. An NLP concept called pacing and leading. When you step into your avatar process, okay, as you experience the life of the person who you want to present to, you want to really pay attention to all the things in your life that are sensorially or cognitively true. In other words, what are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are they feeling? The way pacing and leading works is your brain is basically lazy. If I call attention to something that you can verify through one of your 5 senses, your brain says, that's true. Okay? If I do it enough times, you start to develop this inertia and this laziness takes over where you just start assuming that everything that comes afterwards is true. So for instance, if I were to do 5 paces, a pace is anything you can cognitively or sensorially verify. The chair is made of wood. It's black. I'm standing on the stage. You can hear my voice. These are all things that you can verify as being true. You're also having certain thoughts. Now the only way you can verify that is to go inside and ask yourself, am I having certain thoughts, which in and of itself is a certain thought. Therefore it's true. If I can call your attention to it, it becomes a pace. Anything I want you to do after that is called a lead. So when we start to practice 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 paces, and then 4 paces, and 1 lead. And then 3 paces, and 2 leads. And then 2 paces, and 3 leads, until eventually you're just leading. So it might be something like this. As you sit here listening to the sound of my voice, hearing my words, feeling the weight of your butt in the chair, wondering what I'm going to say next. You can begin to hear my voice on the inside, repeating back to you the words that I'm saying. And as you begin to hear my words coming back to you both inside and outside, you can begin to notice how your sensations in your left earlobe begin to draw your attention. And as it draws your attention, you begin to realize you're starting to relax. And as you begin to relax, you may begin to recognize a growing sense of comfort and inner peace. As you continue to listen to my words, bathing you in a way that just draws you in, causes you to focus on what's really true, and makes you feel good. Now come out of trance. Right? Even though you knew I was doing it and trying to fight it, it still draws you in. You can write a sales letter the same way. If, when you step into your avatar, you can see their life and the experiences that they're most likely going to have had, and you write about them using this format, anybody who is a match for your ideal client profile will resonate with those paces. And then you can tell them what to think or do next. So you can do this like paragraphs in your process. You can do this like sentences in a paragraph. A lot of different ways to utilize that. But it's just
sales. You can use it in the sales.
Yeah.
You do this and this
Yeah.
and this and this and this.
You know as a business owner that if your business isn't growing, it's dying, right? If it's not making money, you're losing money. If you're not maximizing every minute you spend in your business to capitalize on it, that's lost opportunities. True or not true?
All true.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's a global pace. It's something that every business owner has to think about, right? That's how you use it. Step into that context. What's it like for someone to be in pain, whose back hurts so badly he can't get out of bed in the morning? Pace it. Describe it. Put them in it.
What about the element of being an expert? Isn't that what people might, if you establish yourself as an expert, can't you just leapfrog over a lot of this?
In theory, yes. But until someone knows you actually get where they're coming from, they're not likely to listen to you or consider you an expert. So it's always better, especially when you're presenting to women, to tell stories that pace what they're most likely to have experienced. Okay? And if you look at your sales letters, any marketing copy, you will find this element to greater or lesser degree, where they're pacing the experience of the person they're seeking to present to.
Often they do it in form of a question, don't they?
They can. Yeah, it can take many
They ask
forms.
questions,
But at the end of the day, it comes back to something that is sensorially or verifiably true in the subject's experience and linking it through your language or their language to what you want them to do next. Get it? If you had a good time tonight, please post good things to the meetup. If you didn't have...
Why don't you say something? Like you telling like a lot of interesting stuff, and we're listening here. And you also give like very, very big discount on the class, and of course you want that we will come. And you told some stuff about this stuff, but because now it's 10:15, you might want to extend it to 11 to tell us more.
Why don't you stay to 11 and tell us how it turned out, okay?
I love it. I love when people try to use my shit on me. If you had a good time, please post good things to the meetup. If you didn't, post to somebody else's meetup. I'm happy to hang out, answer any questions you may have. Please finish the chocolate, finish the coffee. Thank you all. We'll see you again next time.